but still keeping it fairly private where people aren't able to get any looks or anybody's not able to snap a picture?
Great question. That was a great question. So yeah, and even when we first met, I talked to your class and said, you're going to see some pictures of some deceased persons, and in no way do I ever mean to disrespect the victims of these crimes. The what you're seeing is for education.
Hmm.
Um, I've always tried to give dignity and respect to the victims of crime as much as humanly possible. There were two conversations going on at this crime scene. We were worried about the helicopter uh, hovering right above our crime scene. We did not want anyone to see her in the position that she was in that trunk, aside from investigators and the coroner's investigator. There was discussion whether or not we were going to have that vehicle towed back to the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, to the garage, where we could recover the body out inside that garage where nobody, could see it. But can you think of a problem that might arise from that kind of logic?
Well, the thought process would be if the body gets jostled or is moving around, there could be any type of physical evidence on the body that, if there's fabric on the inside of the trunk, sometimes there are things that can get rubbed off. There's just way too much friction that could happen depending on the road or how the car is driving that could potentially damage really important DNA evidence.
And that right there was the ultimate conversation that we had. And I'm so proud of you, Mike. I got to tell you, um, you've been listening. But so yeah, that was the ultimate deciding factor of why we weren't going to use that tactic. So perfectly said. I couldn't have said it better myself.
So you're having this conversation, but the coroner's office isn't there yet. So you're going to start processing what you do, trying to get fingerprints off of the trunk itself. At what point do you say, okay, I'm going to do some of the car, but we are going to take this car back to the impound in a private, confined area where I can go ahead and disassemble the whole car? Because as we've talked about in other cases, cars get taken apart and they are gone over with a fine tooth comb. Is there only so much you can actually do there as opposed to maybe coming back the next morning when a car is in a safe, locked, confined area? Or is it, no, we go back that night and start taking things apart?
Excellent. Another excellent question. So my goal in this case, let's just say this is a crime scene in a house, okay, and the decedent's laying on the floor in the living room. My goal, because I know I'm under a time clock at this point.
Right.
Okay, right. My goal is to process from the front door or back door, whichever door we're deciding to make entry into, straight to the decedent. I'm going to process everything from fingerprints to DNA in that path, and then I'm going to sketch that body into the scene after I've taken my photography, for the main purpose of, I know that the coroner's investigator needs to come in and needs to manipulate this body with me. We work together, kind of rolling the body, examining the body, that kind of thing. Once that body's moved, I can't go back in time and sketch that body into the
No.
scene. So those are my main goals. I know that once the body is removed, that I have as much time as I need to process the rest of that house. But my main goal is, let's get the coroner's investigators in here and get this body out of here, okay? Because time is of the essence. We're worried about decomp times, time of death calculations, what's going on internally. The doctors need that body put on in the cooler as fast as possible so they can slow that decomp process down, which may help them in their examination, their medical examination. So we're under a time clock. Let's get that body out of there. We can then drop back and punt, and we can take our time in that house. So in this case, my main goal was to process that trunk lid, that trunk, without touching the body, so that then we could do what needed to be done for that for the deceased, to get the deceased out of the trunk.
And I can see why you would want to do that is because that's where the body was placed. And that is in all intents and purposes outside of where the death occurred, the next most important thing, or maybe even the most important priority of how the body was actually placed in there. That's where you're probably going to get your most information as far as fingerprints and DNA, because that's not an easy task to do. So there could be some struggling, grabbing different things. So let's go ahead and get that taken care of. And like you said before, we can process the rest of the car, the steering wheel, the shifter, anything else. If somebody had left a Coke can or a soft drink or something like that, or food